The Four Brothers, a story from Spain. A farmer who lived in the mountains of Spain had four sons. They were called Alfredo, Bernardo, Ernesto, and Pedro. Please try to remember their names. Alfredo, Bernardo, and Ernesto didn't like living on the farm. They said working in the field was too much like hard work. Looking after the sheep was boring, and milking the goats was messy. Pedro loved farm work. He sang while he was in the fields. He whistled when he looked after the sheep, and he hummed while he milked the goats. One day Alfredo said, "We've decided it's time that we four brothers went out into the big wide world to seek our fortunes." "Thank you, but I'd rather stay at home," said Pedro. "Well, you can't," said Alfredo. The father was very sad, but he went to get his money box and counted out all the money he had. He gave 1 silver peso to each of his sons, hugged them, and sent them on their way. Alfredo, Bernardo, and Ernesto had to drag Pedro along the road. When they came to a crossroads, they stopped. "Which way shall we go?" asked Bernardo. "I'll go along the north road. You can go along the south one, Ernesto. We'll go east and Pedro can follow the west road," said Alfredo. "Thank you, but I'd rather go home," said Pedro. "In a year and a day we'll all meet here, and then we'll have an adventure," said Alfredo. The four brothers said, "Goodbye, and good luck," and they made Pedro walk along the west road and set off along their own roads. Alfredo walked for an hour or two when suddenly he was surrounded by a band of robbers. They stole his silver peso and beat him. "You come with us," one growled, and dragging him into their home in the mountains. Alfredo soon proved to be so brave that the robbers made him their leader. "It's a great life," he thought. "I can steal anything I want. I'm going to be rich." Bernardo hurried along his road until he met a man carrying a gun. Bernardo persuaded the man to sell him the gun for 1 silver peso. In the woods, Bernardo fired his gun again and again until he became so good he could shoot one leaf off a tree at a tremendous distance. When he came to the village, he won so many prizes at shooting matches he grew very rich. Ernesto strolled along the east road, and there he met a man who was gazing around him through very strange spectacles. "What are you doing?" said Ernesto. "With these glasses I can see what's going on all over the world," said the man. "Why, there's an Emperor of China drinking tea, and that must be the Shah of Persia riding his great white stallion." Ernesto persuaded the man to sell him the glasses for 1 silver peso, and then he walked on to the nearest town. There people paid him lots of money to tell them what was happening in the world. Pedro trudged along his road until he came to a blacksmith. Pedro stopped to watch him mending pots and pans and all sorts of things. "That's a useful trade. Will you teach me how to do it for 1 silver peso?" asked Pedro. The blacksmith agreed and set Pedro to work. Pedro didn't earn much money, but he became very good at mending anything that was broken. After a year and a day, the four brothers met at the crossroads and told each other all they had done. "Now we'll have an adventure," said Alfredo. "Thank you, but I'd rather go home," said Pedro. Ernesto put on his spectacles. "I can see a princess locked up in a tower on an island. The island is guarded by a fierce sea monster. Her father, the king, has decreed that whoever rescues the princess may marry her." "That's a good adventure," said Alfredo. "Let's rescue the princess, and one of us will marry her." "Thank you, but I'd rather go home," said Pedro. Alfredo, Bernardo, and Ernesto marched Pedro along the road, over the mountains through the forest, until at last they came to the seashore. There they found a ship that could sail to Princess's Island. "We'll wait until it's dark and the sea monster is asleep," said Alfredo. Just after midnight the four brothers sailed the ship out to the island and landed quietly on the shore. They tiptoed right up to the tower and gently woke the princess and led her down the ship. They helped her aboard and were just pushing the ship away from the shore when Ernesto stepped in on the sea monster's tail. It woke up with a great roar and chased the ship as it sailed away. Quickly loading his gun, Bernardo shot the sea monster, but as it died, its lashing tail smashed a hole in the ship. Pedro snatched up his tools and mended the ship, which sailed safely back to the shore. The four brothers took the princess to the king, and he told him how they had rescued her. He was delighted to have his daughter brought home safely. "Now, which one of you is going to marry her?" he asked. "I am. I stole her away," said Alfredo. "I shot the sea monster that would have killed us," said Bernardo. "I saw the princess on the island in the first place," said Ernesto. "And what did you do?" the king asked Pedro. "I mended the ship when it was about to sink and drown us all," replied Pedro. "Then you shall marry my daughter and live in my palace," commanded the king, and the three brothers didn't dare argue with him. Pedro bowed politely. "Thank you, but I'd rather go home," he said. Then the princess laughed. "I've always wanted to marry a farmer," she cried. She ran to Pedro, and hand in hand they walked down the road, talking and laughing, all the way home. The end.